In the last week, WallStreetBets has been printing money on one specific stock. It's AMD, which stands for Advanced Micro Devices, but it might as well stand for Advanced Money Duplicator. From a staggering 5,000% plus return to a single $1 million gain, today we're breaking down exactly how the degens and WallStreetBets are feasting on the AMD Gold Rush. As a reminder, this is not financial advice. I'm personally not long or short AMD right now. We're going to go in this video from smallest to biggest again in this gain porn video, so stick around until the end for the coolest gains. We'll start with user the Mad Hatter 1337. I've learned that Reddit recently decided to allow private profiles. Awful idea in my opinion. The Mad Hatter 1337 set their profile to private, so I can't see any of their post history. Regardless, OP took to WallStreetBets just 10 hours ago from the time I'm recording this to report that he'd made a whopping 5,414.31% on AMD shares. Doing the math, that's $187 initially in shares back when Lisa Su became the CEO. Talk about diamond hands, that's a hold for over a decade with a massive payoff. These are lotto ticket level payouts from shares only. What's even crazier is that he had bought the shares with part of his parents' college savings. If only the Intel Nana guy had done the same thing. Imagine signing up for Robinhood and on the same exact day, seeing gains of these proportions in your account. That's exactly what happened to user of Flying Narwhal. Also with a private profile, he took to WallStreetBets to write, quote, "brand new account, thanks AMD." The play for him was not shares like the last case study, but rather calls with a $180 strike price. He bought them on September 25th, and the post showing the 40K gain was on October 6th. So what happened in the meantime that made the options appreciate so much? AMD soared from $171 when he bought the just out of the money calls to $203 at the time of this video. Options, being as leveraged as they are, appreciated from $4,000 to $40,000. With his expiration being on October 31st, he could have held for longer but decided to lock in the impressive gains today. OP also shared a screenshot of their portfolio, up $41,000 on the year, so before this AMD play, they were just about breaking even. Buy Sell Hold Finance is a huge Magic the Gathering fan and also has quite an obsession with T-Mobile, which I couldn't quite figure out. It's certainly been a solid performing stock, but he didn't have any DDs or financial questions, just tons of speculation about random things like who their chairperson would be. About a year ago, Buy Sell Hold Finance started sharing some of his trades, and it didn't start out too pretty for him. He had bought $11K worth of DJT puts in his Roth IRA 2 weeks before the election. I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? What's funny to me is that DJT actually did drop even though Trump won, just not enough for his puts, which were so far out of the money to print. He was left with $2K in his Roth IRA, and a mellower, humbled OP took not to WallStreetBets, but to r/FIRE. FIRE stands for Financial Independence and Retiring Early. He proclaimed that, quote, "your 15% year-to-date gain is excellent." Sound advice for sure, but talking about how small consistent gains beat the lotto ticket method kind of sounds like copium coming from him. But take off the copium mask for a minute because just this week, Buy Sell Hold Finance posted in WallStreetBets, notably not the FIRE subreddit this time, to proclaim that he had made a, quote, easy 60K gain with AMD in just one day. He'd bought 3,000 shares at $204 and gone ahead and sold them later in the day for a 9% gain, turning 612K into 670K. What's funny though is that I was not the only one who went through his post history, as user Young Capitalista inquired, "how did you YOLO 11K in DJT 11 months ago, and now you're a millionaire? WTF, something doesn't add up." OP sounded a bit salty in his response. "That was a small part of my portfolio, bud. I trusted the polls versus the prediction markets and thought I had an easy ARB to 10x what I put in." We're turning up the dial on the degeneracy, and C. Scrignaro is a shining example of this. Early in his Reddit days, he posted looking for audio engineer jobs, but in mid-2020, OP started paper trading options and never looked back. Pocketing 33K in Tesla calls and then full porting into stocks like ASTS and UNH, C. Scrignaro clearly got comfortable with the degen way of investing. Last week, OP threw 57K in AMD calls and turned around and sold them the same day for 132K. A nice flip indeed, but I can't help but notice that they bought on October 1st and sold on October 2nd for October 3rd expiring options. What if they had bought October 10th expiring calls and held through the weekend? Here's a quick visual of the small gain that they had held through with the options, and then the large gain that they could have had they bought calls further out. A word of profound wisdom from WallStreetBets here in the replies. "When I grow up, I want to have big nuts like you and buy 1 and 2 DTE calls. Leaps are all my vagina lets me buy." Pills are good is not financial advice, and it's certainly not medical advice, but it is the username of a Wall Street Bets ape who only posted once in Wall Street Bets before this week. He had bought some calls into NVDA earnings 2 years ago. I'm really hoping that he held onto the shares part of that play. They've returned on October 6th to showcase an options play that turned $4,000 into $84K for them. He had bought $220 strike price calls expiring on October 17th, so pretty far out of the money, but just in the money enough after AMD's pop-up on October 6th to sell the options for a 21x gain. A great moment of education for once here in Wall Street Bets. User dual meaning 01 asks if, since each option would need a buyer and a seller, why would anyone buy these 56 contracts today? Is it just the market makers filling them, or is there actual reason someone would buy these today? OP replied that the seller sold me these either hoping they would collect a premium or they're covered, meaning this stock jump justifies their sell. It's basically I have them, so have the choice to hold, exercise, or sell them back for a profit or a loss. I'll certainly make a video explaining options and order flow at some point, but for now, I'd recommend the video Unemployed Guy Explains Options Trading in 5 Levels of Complexity by one of the OGs, Benjamin. Our next case study is with Diablo R. He is a longtime degen who 6 years ago charged $55K on his credit card to buy some FDs. I'm trying to get monetized over here, so I can't quite explain what FDs stand for. Google it, or better yet, click the second link in the description below for my free Wall Street Bets Lingo Dictionary, and it explains what FDs and like 50 other speculative trading terms mean, so you feel like an insider. Anyway, this absolute degenerate made $10,000 shorting weed and Drake, somehow actually made money on being a gay bear, and just this October proclaimed AMD 130K gain, thank you for your attention to this matter. The screenshot shows that they'd actually bought calls reasonably far out, not expiring tomorrow or next week, but in January of 2026. Kind of strange that that's only 3 months away anyway, but still a decent amount of time for an options play in Wall Street Bets. His cost was about $36K, and he closed the positions on October 6th, locking in a $128,000 gain. That's a new Porsche or a 3-bedroom house in a Philadelphia ghetto, take your pick. The only other thing OP had to say was, I love you, Mama Sue. Repulsive Knight 15 is your prototypical Wall Street Bets trader, the exact kind of guy you'd see in the Gigastonks Discord server or something. We see a few early posts about Diablo Immortal, and then gets hooked on Wall Street Bets after the first one is always free trap is set. Repulsive Knight also frequents the Race to 10 Million subreddit created by Sir Jackalot, whose story from 35K to 8 million, by the way, is certainly worth the watch. I'll leave a link to that below. From making $41,000 on Alibaba calls earlier this year, to $18K on Microsoft, to losing $8K on SPY puts, gotta stop falling into the gay bear trap, bro. Recoups $13K on UNH shares, and then again, what the hell, man, more losses on SPY puts. I don't know why traders that seemingly have the Midas touch fall for the gay bear trap time and time again. OP has plenty more plays I could break down, but we're going to look at the important one right now, and that's AMD. On October 6th, OP showed off his position of nearly 2,000 shares he'd accumulated of AMD. The gains, while unrealized, were very impressive. 232K, or 127% on a position worth $413,000. But even more inspiring was the caption. Great job to everyone that held strong, even when NVIDIA was getting all the spotlights. After months, really years of getting all the hype, it seems like AMD is finally getting some attention. Big Niso is a self-proclaimed regard with 300K richer today and going to flip this to 1 million by 0 DTE SPY 669. What you think? I think I know what he meant, and I doubt he cares if I understand him because damn, take a look at this. Big Niso took 30K and YOLO'd into 100 contracts of AMD $200 calls expiring in November. He bought them on September 15th when AMD was trading at $161, and 200 seemed like a pipe dream. The second screenshot breaks it down even clearer, flipping just under $30,000 and securing a 300K gain, with 330K back in total on the position just 3 short weeks later. Even Wall Street Bets was left speechless on this one. The timing and conviction was incredibly impressive. Compared to a lot of the options we looked at today, this one was actually relatively far out and a reasonable purchase, not a lotto ticket. Although it was a nice surprise, OP had set himself up pretty nicely so that even if the stock just rode 5 to 10% over the next few weeks, he would have been able to lock in a pretty nice profit. User Foolish Pragmatist sums it up nicely. Let's say this deal wasn't announced this morning. If the stock just rose 5 to 10% over the next 2 weeks, he still would have been able to have sold at a profit. Much less than this, but still profitable. These options were far from that expiration. Decay really wasn't a factor. Now, those other screenshots from people who had AMD options expiring this week, those went from totally underwater to profitable overnight. Those had no room to run if not for this announcement and were saved by incredible luck and timing. Very different situation. And for our degenerate play of the day, we're going to meet user Hanul14. He has two hobbies I never would have thought of overlapping. The first is rifles, specifically Mosin Nagant rifles, and manga. But there's really only one post you came here to see, and that's the one titled AMD 984K Gain Porn. What can we deduce from OP's positions from the screenshots? It shows that initially he'd bought 240 contracts of AMD $180 calls expiring on October 10th. So unlike the last play that expired in November, he didn't have a lot of room to run if these options didn't print within the week. After AMD's massive run-up on October 6th, Hanul14 sold right away and just like that, within days, printed $1 million total with a profit of $984,000. A stat boy in the comments calculated that it was 4,101.73%, so our second most impressive play today percentage-wise, and obviously the best by far with raw dollar amounts. In the comments, OP gave us some further details as to when and why he bought these calls. Hanul writes, "Bought these on Friday at $1 because of that AMD Intel rumor. I had to hold to make sure I didn't get pattern day trade restricted. I was kicking myself all weekend when it turned out to be false. Lucky me I held. Thank you, Mama Sue." The screenshot reveals the whole story. OP held through 50% losses on his path to Valhalla. As painful as being down 10K must have felt, being a new millionaire certainly makes up for it. I hope you've enjoyed these AMD gain porn breakdowns. Let me know in the comments what your favorite story was below. Hit like and subscribe, and while you're at it, check out the Gigastonks Discord server. There are some heavy hitters in there making some gain porn of their own. Just this week, one of the boys pocketed 12K on futures, another made $250,000 like it's nothing, and even I've got an unrealized $250 profit on a shares play. It's not a financial advice Discord, but we're having a lot of fun, and for the most part, printing some tendies while we're at it. I'll see you in there, and hopefully on the moon sometime soon too.